Ladies and gentlemen, our referee has called a stop to this contest, declaring the winner by knockout and new MMA show! Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting round of and new MMA show. I am your MC, Michael Hansen, and I do all kinds of formidable things with microphones because I am a ring announcer and MMA cage announcer, and I'm joined this week, as I always am, by my two friends who bring MMA punditry to new heights. Joining us first on the left side of your screen, he is wearing the Can't Please 'Em All hat, donning all black, Mark Priaulx from New York. Mark, what's going on?
What's happening, boys? I don't know if I've recovered yet from the depression of not being able to come on here tonight and talk about Islam Makhachev fighting Beneil Dariush, but we got a lot of good other MMA. We got a good fill-in for that fight, obviously, so ready to get into the thing.
And joining us on the right side of your screen, he's also wearing black from the Sunshine State of Florida, the Nicaraguan Nightmare, Omar Artola. Omar, what's up?
You know what I just realized? So we've been talking about how, so for those of you who are listening, I have made an internal choice to start training Muay Thai a little bit more seriously and hopefully take a level 1 test to be able to take amateur fights and stuff like that. It's just, we'll pause it right there. But what I just noticed is if I ever do end up taking an amateur fight, I might actually have to use the fucking Nicaraguan Nightmare now.
Oh,
yeah, man.
That's how nicknames are not chosen. They are given.
Yes.
They are given.
Yes.
So I might have to use that.
How'd you get, was it given to you by somebody?
You gave it to me.
Me?
Yeah, didn't
I didn't come up with that shit.
I remember the first, not the first real episode, the first test episode we ever did on like Clubhouse or whatever. You introduced us as the Nicaraguan Nightmare and something for me. And I was like, never call me that again. But then the Nicaraguan Nightmare stuck.
Yeah. So I might just have to use that going forward.
That's right. Okay, I'll take credit. I don't really remember, but I thought somebody else called you that, but that's fine.
No,
that's fine.
You.
Well, boys, we have a fun episode to dive into. We have a UFC and a Bellator card to talk about that just happened, and we also have a UFC and a Bellator cards that are coming up this weekend. So we're going to start, as we always do, with our first segment on the marquee. Then we're going to dive into this past weekend's Bellator and UFCs, talk about those. We're going to throw some fights into our lightning round. We're going to find out who rose and who fell in our very own Priaulx Rankings ranking system. We're going to find out what's new in the headlines inside the MMA sphere. And then we're going to look ahead to this coming weekend's cards, Bellator, as well as UFC Fight Night. And then we're going to end with a little bit of trivia, as we are now accustomed to do. Before we get into any of that, boys, let us thank our audience, our folks that are listening, as well as watching. If you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't yet subscribed, do us a favor. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up, and so that you never miss an episode. If you want audio only, we got you. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, follow us on social media at @andnew_MMA show. With that, let us go into our first segment. This is On the Marquee. This week, the name on the marquee has got to be Jamahal Hill. Maybe we should start calling him, as he suggested, Main Event Mall, who this past Saturday at UFC Fight Night, Walker versus Hill at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. He defeated Johnny Walker by knockout at 2 minutes and 55 seconds of the very first round. Mark, let me start with you. One of the scarier knockouts we've seen. What was your reaction and your reaction overall to Jamahal Hill's performance?
I mean, overall, what can we say? I told you Johnny Walker was a sitting duck. I think you guys said the same, if I recall. Told you he was going to get hit hard. And damn if that's not exactly what happened. I don't know what was worse, the shot on the feet or the shot on the ground. But Hill certainly lived up to the Sweet Dreams nickname. I wasn't on this Jamahal Hill hype train early on. I only hopped on after that last Jimmy Crute win. But, man, I am buckling in for the long run. I like this guy a lot now. I don't know why I missed him in his first few fights. I didn't really see it. But, yeah, damn, it's pretty obvious. His strikes are so damn precise. They remind me of Conor. I've always said that about Conor.
Wow.
He even says it about himself all the time, Conor. that the reason he's such a devastating striker is because of his accuracy and precision in where his strikes are landing. And that is the same vibe I get when I watch Jamahal Hill. That's what makes him so devastating. Everything lands perfect spot. Like, think about the strike that put Johnny Walker down, dead on his temple. Johnny Walker falls. He's in motion. He's falling into the fence. Jamahal Hill is diving at him. Where's the next strike land? It almost took off his chin. I mean, the dude doesn't miss. Could he get exposed by a wrestler as we get into the elite here? Maybe. Are there that many wrestlers in the top 10 of light heavyweight? Not really. So it kind of feels like Jamahal Hill is set up to break through here in a devastating way, depending who he's matched up with next. But you can't look better than he looks right now.
Omar, let's bring you in here. What was your reaction to Main Event Mall improving his record to 10-1? By the way, it should be 11-1 if not for that no contest on his record that should have been a knockout win. It was turned over because of he tested positive for marijuana after the fight. So he should be 11-1. What was your reaction to him getting this, sort of a signature victory at light heavyweight?
Gotta love how they don't count those performance-enhancing marijuana drugs, huh? Anyway, Jamahal Hill. Jamahal Hill is a beast. I've been saying it since the first time I saw him fight in the UFC. I've always been impressed with his striking. I think he has a certain swag about him that he knows what he brings to the table. He never really seems like he's afraid of anybody, for better or worse, because he should have been a little bit more conscious in the fight that he almost lost his elbow in. But that being said, that's probably been his only fluke in the UFC so far. He's been pretty dominant ever since up until that point, and even after that. So, I'm a big Jamahal Hill fan. Glad that I get to see Mark on the boat. Now we can travel together and watch this boy kick some people's asses. It probably will get a little bit tighter as far as competition is concerned once we start getting into the elite. But as of this point, I had no intention of picking against Jamahal Hill anytime soon.
Let's talk about where Main Event Mall goes from here. Mark, let me start with you. Where do you see him going at light heavyweight in terms of his next opponent?
So it's a little busy ahead of him. If we're going all the way to the top, we know we're getting Glover versus Prohaska. We know we are getting Santos and Ankalaev. And supposedly we're still going to get Blachowicz versus Rakic. Despite Jan's injury, it sounds like they're just bumping it back a couple months and it's still happening. So really all that leaves is Anthony Smith and Dominic Reyes. Reyes could work, but he's lost 3 straight. So I don't know if that feels like it's the right person to be putting Hill against with as hot as he looks right now. So if it's me, I would go Anthony Smith. Only problem is I don't know if Anthony Smith accepts that. I know after his last fight, he thought for a minute there he was going to get Rakic. Then he thought for a minute he was going to get Blachowicz. And obviously they ended up against each other and that didn't materialize. So I don't know how he feels about Jamahal Hill. The name value doesn't seem quite as big, but it would be a hell of a test for Jamahal Hill. Like Anthony Smith could test everything that we want to see tested for Jamahal Hill. He could take that fight a lot of different places. He's such a smart fighter. He could really, make Hill have to show a lot of things. And from the Smith side, if he was ever to turn back Hill, he would become even more undeniable that he needs to be close to this title opportunity. So maybe he goes for it. And to me, I think that'd be a really cool fight.
Omar, what about you? When you look at the landscape of light heavyweight, who would you like to see Jamahal Hill match up with next?
So taking a little piece from the MMA sphere that we'll be getting into a little bit deeper into later, Volkan Ozdemir has actually already kind of talked a little bit of shit. And I got to say, looking at the rankings, the official UFC rankings right now, Volkan Ozdemir being 8 and Jamahal Hill being 10, I don't want Ozdemir there. I don't know why. Deep down inside, 8 seems pretty high for him. And I'm pretty sure that if Jamahal Hill fights Ozdemir, that fight is 100% Hill's fight. So Ozdemir apparently wanted to talk a little bit of shit to him. Hill returned fire. The setup is already there. I think to Mark's point, I don't think Anthony Smith takes the fight at this point against somebody who's an up-and-comer like that. I don't think Anthony Smith wants to risk it anymore. He's already, there. Yeah. So I think the Ozdemir fight, is a fantastic fight. I think Ozdemir at this point has a little bit to prove, right? He's had some rough goes at this point, but these are the type of fights that he's going to need to win in order to stay relevant. Otherwise, we may not see Ozdemir in the UFC for a while.
Yeah,
Okay.
I saw their little back and forth. So I did consider it. Kind of like you said, I just felt like Hill deserved a little more than that.
Right.
But with that said, I have Volkan ranked right in front of him. Just, based off the strength of some of Volkan's victories, I kind of couldn't let Hill jump him yet. Like Volkan has that win over Rakic.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that factor in. So, it could work.
Okay. Let's talk about Johnny Walker. At light heavyweight in the UFC, where does Johnny Walker go from here? He's taken his lumps, man. This is a guy who, I'll be honest, I was super high on Johnny Walker when he came into the UFC. This guy is one of these guys who comes out of Brazil who is just an absolute athletic freak, especially for his size. What is he like? He's got to be like every bit of 6'5". It seems like he could jump, out of the arena. He looks like a statue, has power, super athletic. And, man, he has not had the best time you see. How much? 6'6"?
Yep.
Wow. Anyhow, Omar, let me start with you. Where do you see Johnny Walker going from here in terms of matchmaking in his next opponent?
Yeah, I mean, the real issue with Johnny Walker is we still don't really know what his potential is. Like, when he first came into the UFC, we all loved him because of how crazy he was, how wild he was, how effective he looked with the wildness. But the reality was, as the competition got stiffer, his wildness just became more and more ineffective, more and more inefficient. And like I told you guys last week, I just don't trust Johnny Walker to get the job done at this point. I also don't think he trusts himself, which is why he's at a point now where he's trying to figure out exactly how he should be fighting, what he should be doing in there, how he should be using his wildness and his unorthodox movements to sort of take advantage of the fight. But it's not coming together yet. So I don't necessarily think he deserves anybody in front of him. I think probably people who are on their way up more than likely deserve a shot at a Johnny Walker. I guess if I had to pick somebody at this point, maybe somebody like an Ian Kuntelaba would be interesting. I mean, that's just a good fight in and of itself. I mean, they're also coming off of 2 losses. Jimmy Crute might also be a good way to go. But at this point, Johnny Walker definitely needs to prove himself against somebody who's up and coming, because nobody in front of him, he doesn't deserve a fight with anybody in front of him.
Mark, put on your matchmaker hat. Think about Johnny Walker. What would you do with him?
Yeah, Omar kind of nailed it. The guy's lost 4 out of 5. And like you said, there was a point in time where people thought he was kind of the next big thing, and it's just not working out for him. So I do think it's time for a step back. If it was up to me, I think I might go with someone like an OSP, Ovince St. Preux, who's kind of a little past his prime, but he's still solid. I know he's been taking some heavyweight fights here and there. So if he's not doing light heavyweight, then obviously that's not going to work. But someone like that, I feel like still provides a test to Walker. And if Walker beats him, then you're like, okay, he's still solid. Let's see what we do with him now. And if he doesn't, it's almost like, all right, it's not happening for this guy. It's time to kind of fade him out of any spotlight. So I feel like that would kind of serve its purpose. But on the same note, if we're talking about trying to reignite Johnny Walker, that Iwan Kutelaba idea that Omar just threw out is not bad, because that man only knows how to fight like a psychopath. So if there was ever a fight that would make Johnny Walker kind of bring it back out of him, then that could be the one. So that works too.
But yeah, man, to your point, Omar, I will disagree slightly that there are quite a few guys in the UFC who have a wild style and make it work. I mean, I think about even guys right out of Brazil, like Michel Pereira. Super wild. Dude is the most wild. Does backflips in the octagon. Yep. I think of guys like Nico Price. I think about Yuri Prohaska. He's kind of a wild guy in the cage. Brings a very unorthodox style. So I
would counter that point by saying everybody that you've named has a way to make their style effective. Even Michel Pereira, just using your first example. If you watch the first fight that Michel Pereira was in, that motherfucker looked like he was button mashing the entire time. I mean, he was doing shit that had nothing to do with the fight. He was backflipping off the cage. He was doing weird shit. And then he got gassed by like the end of the second round. If you watch the way that he fights now, while he is still wild, while there is a lot of movement, there is a lot more purpose to what he's doing. Johnny Walker is still, in my opinion, still trying to figure out what that purpose is, how he's supposed to get from A to B the right way. He got away with a lot of nonsense early on in his career because of how crazy he is and how unorthodox he is. And it's difficult to read people when you have, you don't have a lot of tape on this guy, you can't do a lot of things or whatever. But once you start getting those wins and you start racking up and you start seeing how these guys work and you get to sit down and you get to really break down these like nuances with the top elite fighters, it matters. And they will find those weaknesses. They will find those little chinks in your armor. And Johnny Walker, unfortunately, with all that crazy shit, has a lot of them. You can look at Brandon Royval. Brandon Royval is one of the craziest fighters that we've ever seen. We all love him here. Unfortunately, his record does not reflect how good that boy is, and it's because he is too wild a lot of the time. Does it work for him sometimes? Absolutely. But it fighting in the UFC, especially if you're trying to be a champion, if you're trying to be the tippity top of the echelon, your fights cannot be coin flips. Your fights need to be purposeful. Your fights need to have an actual plan as to how you're going to get from the first beginning of the bell, breaking his ass down, to the end of the fight, whatever that end of the fight is.
Yeah.
But there's too many coin flips right now with Johnny Walker.
Just to counterpoint what you're saying, we saw him try this in his last fight with Thiago Santos. He was wildly tentative. It was one of the most boring fights ever.
I agree.
So he tried to become this point fight guy. And I'm not sure he was trying to make this one a wild one either. We didn't really get to see. So he's trying, I think. I just don't think that he has the chin to be a guy who can say, let's stay back and trade shots, because he's going to lose that battle.
I just don't think he knows how he's supposed to fight anymore.
I think he doesn't know how he's supposed to fight.
Yeah, I think that's where he's at. I think he's at a weird place in his career right now because he did so well in the beginning. Then he started doing so terribly, and then he switched camps. And now these guys are trying to basically, it sounds from his perspective, they're trying to make him a better version of himself. But again, I don't think he knows what the fuck that is. I think he's trying to figure that out. And when we see it, what he really is as a fighter, what his true potential is, maybe it'll be a different story. Maybe we'll have something different to discuss. But as of right now, the seeing how tentative he was in one fight to seeing how, he was a little bit crazier, but still kind of tentative, it just goes to show that he's evolving. He's trying to figure it all out, but he's not there. And it's too early to say if he'll ever actually get there.
I'm still slightly intrigued by the idea that I presented last time we talked about Johnny Walker, which is him considering a move up to heavyweight. And I know it sounds a little bit crazy because if his chin is already not great now, getting hit by heavyweights is probably not the best idea. But sometimes chins are affected by weight cuts. So who knows? It could be better. Like, look at Ryan Bader. His chin is significantly better when he fights at heavyweight. And B, I just think that he is so big that he would be okay there, and that he has plenty of power, and that his speed would be such a weapon that would throw off a lot of these heavyweights. So part of me still wonders if that could be the better route to relevancy for him, but it could be wrong. It's something that intrigues me.
Could be very interesting because at 6'6", with his frame, he is an absolute giant at light heavy. And he's still, I don't think he would give up any size to just about anybody at heavyweight.
And the speed is a real, that's a real point. He would have a definite speed advantage over most of the guys in the division, for sure.
Yeah. He would be kind of like a who am I thinking of? Matt Brown. Not Matt Brown. The Hawaiian guy.
He's
retired now.
Travis Brown.
Travis Brown. Sorry. So sorry.
That's fair. I can see that a little bit.
Like a big, more tall, athletic heavyweight.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Congratulations to Main Event Mall. I love saying that. Jamahal Hill for career-defining win thus far in his career. Grand Rapids' own Jamahal Hill, might I say. Let's move over, boys, to the Bellator side of things. This past weekend at Bellator 274 in the main event, Logan the Storm Storley defeated Neiman Gracie by unanimous decision, earning a 48-47, 50-45, and 49-46. Omar, let me start with you this time. What was your reaction to Logan Storley getting the decision over the Gracie fighter?
I gotta say, I gotta ask before we even get into it, Mark, how did you score this fight? Because when they were scoring this fight in live, I was like, what the fuck is going on right now?
So I haven't rewatched it, and I wish I did. I planned to. I didn't get to it. Live, I did give 1-2-5 to Storley, which is enough for the win. I gave 3 to Gracie. 4 was friggin' nuts, and it ended, and I was like, I have no idea what just happened. But I gave 1-2-5 to Storley, which is enough for the win. On the rewatch, would I change that? I don't know. I haven't got to do it, but that's what I thought live. What'd you think?
Yeah, so I wanted to get. I honestly, I'm pretty sure I gave all 5 rounds to Storley. To be
Oh,
honest,
okay. I thought you were going the other way. I was like,
if
whoa.
if there was one round that I was going to give to Gracie, it would have been 3. But
Yeah,
it
that's the
just
one I gave him.
But giving him 3 felt like I was giving him 3 because he didn't get 1 and 2, and I just didn't want to do that. You know what I mean? It felt like I was trying to be nice to Gracie for no reason. Because
Guns
I
in my
didn't
head,
think he really won
guns in
that
my head,
fight.
4 was Storley. So
Yeah.
I agree. The only one I definitely gave Gracie was 3. So we're kind of in the same boat.
What a wild fight though. I mean, we should have seen it coming that way, to be honest. But we talked about it last week. We were all talking about his ground, the ground game from both guys. We should have seen that there was going to be no ground game really in this one. I don't even think it went to the ground until Gracie got knocked down. What was it? The 4th round? Fourth round. And at that point, Storley was like, fuck it. He ain't triangling me now. I'm just going to go down here and just start pounding away. The first 2 rounds, though, I thought were pretty well dominated by Storley. A lot of forward movement, a lot of hooks, a lot of accuracy as far as I was concerned. I was a little concerned about Gracie's performance just because he looked like the game plan was a lot of stick and move, which needs to have some kind of follow-up behind it. You can't win a fight sticking and moving. I mean, that's when you're getting hit with hooks, I should also add. It just, for every 1 jab that Gracie was landing, Storley was landing 2 or 3 hooks on the kid. And that was, to be honest, the entire fight. 3 got a little hairy, and I can't remember now if it was because he got clipped or because he started to gas.
When he got clipped, it was 4. It all happened. All the craziness happened in 4.
No, I mean
Storley was hurt in 4, and then Gracie was hurt in 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was a wild fight though, man. It was definitely it started to get really back and forth towards the end of the fight. Just when you thought Gracie had the round, here comes fucking Storley and stole the round back. Yeah. And then by the 5th round, it was a war of attrition. It was really about who was just going to survive that end of that fight. Gracie's face was a mess. I mean, he looked like he had grown an entirely separate face by the end of that fight. Storley was bleeding all over the place. It was a wild fight, and definitely not a type of fight we would have expected, or anybody would expect if we told you a Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter and a wrestler were about to fight. Yep. Just wild.
Yeah, man. Mark, what about you? What was your reaction?
Yeah, I have a lot of the same takes. Like Omar said, we built this up as this wrestler versus grappler fight, and we got exactly 0 of that. Obviously, these things are prone to happen sometimes in these types of matchups, but I wasn't expecting it in this one. Storley's just so aggressive. I didn't think he could turn off the wrestling, but obviously he did. And Bellator didn't think it either, because they literally built a whole promo about the sport of wrestling versus the sport of jiu-jitsu. Like, it was like a 5+ minute promo leading into that fight. So that felt a bit awkward when we didn't see any of those things at all. But yeah, instead we got this striking match. It started out a bit boring, honestly. Like, the first 2 rounds were kind of like, Storley, I thought, won them both, but they were kind of boring. The crowd was getting a little restless. But then in round 3, it turned into a really good fight and stayed that way. Storley was winning early because he was the one that established the pressure. Neiman Gracie has been making improvements in his striking, but he needs to be the one moving toward you for it to work the same way. He's not ready to be that back foot counter striker just yet. You could tell, I thought this whole fight, that he was actually the one with the slicker strikes. Like, he had the cleaner angles, the prettier jab, but the aggression of Storley making Gracie back up and Storley being able to be the one to set the pace was just not letting Gracie get his game working. So it almost became like a battle for that forward pressure. And in round 3, Gracie kind of changed it. He's the one that was able to start. He started landing a couple clean ones that stuck through. Like I said, I liked his technique more, and he got some that came through. He was able to change it. He was the one that started walking towards Storley, and that's the round he won, at least in my opinion. And then in round 4, he comes out looking just as good. He hurts Storley. Storley's like backpedaling. Gracie's swarming him. And at that point, it kind of felt like, wow, like, Storley was controlling this fight for 2 rounds, but this thing has totally swung. Like, it almost felt like Gracie had figured it out. And even if he didn't finish Storley there, that it was probably going to continue and he was going to win round 5 and take a 48-47 decision. But as Storley's hurt, as the barrage is happening, He bites down, boom, puts Gracie on his ass, dives in, like Omar said, doesn't care about the jiu-jitsu anymore, lands more on the ground, pounds on him. I think even ends up stealing the round. Like I said, I was torn, but I thought he did. 2 out of 3 judges thought he did. Only 1 judge gave Gracie 2 rounds. And then, worst case scenario, it was 2-2 going into the 5th for Storley. And he just did exactly what he had to do. He came out, biggest spot of his career thus far, and through purely striking, which obviously is not his MO, he comes out, gets it done, clearly wins round 5, secures the W. So a big step for Logan Storley. For sure, not exactly the fight we thought we'd see, but still a good fight in a different way.
Mark, let me stay with you. Where do you think Storley goes from here after this great win?
So when I was talking last week, I completely missed that Jason Jackson is booked against Douglas Lima on the same card as MVP and Amosov. I thought Jason Jackson was waiting for that winner, but apparently not, because I wanted to say tonight that they could do Storley and Lima. And then I saw Lima was booked against Jason Jackson. I was like, oh shit. So I don't really know what you do with Storley. Anyone else feels like a backwards step. So he might just have to wait a little bit longer than maybe he wanted to and see how these fights play out here. But I don't really see anything else that makes a ton of sense. I almost would have said Koreshkov, who we're going to get to in a minute, just because he's so hot right now. But now he already got booked right away. So, yeah, I think Storley kind of has to wait.
Omar, what about you? When you look at the landscape of Bellator welterweights, what do you see next for Logan Storley?
Yeah, I mean, considering that Koreshkov, well, who's Koreshkov's up against now?
Paul Daly. Paul Daly's retirement fight. Oh. He asked for it in the post fight, and they gave it to him right away.
Yeah. I guess I'm gonna have to just follow right behind Mark then at this point. And I mean, there's really just not a lot of options.
Yeah.
I think they're just gonna have to let a few things play out to see exactly where the landscape lands, and then match Storley up with somebody from there.
He's gonna have to wait.
Indeed.
All right. That being said, Mark, do us a favor and give us your recap of a few of the other fights on this past weekend's Bellator 274 card.
Would love to. Real quick, I just wanted to say that I think a cool matchup for Neiman Gracie, who kind of feels like he has fallen out of that like upper echelon top 5 grouping now, would be Sabah Hamasi. Simply because Sabah is so aggressive, it kind of feels like he deserves it, and it's like a firefight type to see if Gracie can get through that and work his game. So I like that one for him. As for the rest of Bellator, there was a couple crazy ones. I'll run down the main card. Real quick, we'll do the 2 decisions first. You had Adam Piccolotti, who had been out for a year and a half with a variety of injuries. He finally came back, fought Georgi Karakhanyan, did what he had to do to get the W. He controlled it enough with his wrestling. He landed enough shots on the ground. Karakhanyan was dangerous. He landed a couple big ones on the feet. He had the guillotine attempt late, but it just wasn't enough. So good return win for Piccolotti. He's a name in that lightweight division, and he'll be back in the mix now after being out a while. The other decision on the main card was at heavyweight, where you had Davion Franklin, who is kind of the unproven up-and-comer in that Bellator heavyweight division. This was only his 5th pro fight, fighting Saeed Salma, who just beat Vitaly Minakov in his last one. And Davion Franklin got it done. I mean, it was a close fight, but I gave at least 2 rounds to him, if not all 3. He looked good, and he could be a guy. He's 5-0 now in his young career, and he's a scary dude, and he's only going to get scarier as he improves. As for Salma, I would like them to run it back with Minakov because I still hate how that fight ended. And now that he lost, it feels like they could do that. But for the 2 noteworthy things that happened in Bellator, number 1, Andrei Koreshkov is a fucking murderer. That kick sounded so bad. I did not need to wait for the medical report to know that Ren Counter had broken ribs. Like, it was obvious right away. My wife was sitting next to me, and she literally looked up like, what just happened? Like, it was a pop. He went down like he got shot. And I'm just a big Koreshkov guy, man. I think he is perennially underappreciated. The guy has had 29 fights and lost 4 of them. They are to Ben Askren, twice to Douglas Lima, and a close split decision to Lorenz Larkin, who I also love and I also feel like is an undervalued fighter.
Where the hell is Lorenz Larkin? That's a crazy. I can't even remember the last time I saw Lorenz Larkin.
I think it was like a year ago. He was kind of floating between divisions in Bellator, welterweight and middleweight, but he's been out for a little minute. It could be longer than a year, though. I'm not sure. But yeah, Koreshkov has 19 finishes. He can finish you in a variety of ways with any body part, with subs, with everything. I just love the dude. I feel like we've seen him in Bellator for a while. I almost wish his contract would be up and we could see him in the UFC. I think that would be fun. But I am glad he's getting rewarded with this Paul Daly fight that he asked for in the post-fight interview in the cage. I think that is a big spotlight for him. And I think that he beats Paul Daly. I do. And I think at that point, maybe we can see him in a title eliminator again, because it feels like he should be in these bigger fights with these guys. And somehow he sort of fell out, even though he hadn't lost fights. I guess he just took a little break there, and he's like not necessarily in the mix, but he's a guy who feels like he should be in the mix.
Real quick. I just have to give the people I'm going to steal it from the inside the MMA sphere because it's just perfect timing. I got to give you the rundown of how bad the injury was. If you haven't seen the spinning back kick, this is the spinning back kick that was probably he'll never throw a spinning back kick more perfect than that. That was it. That was the one perfect spinning back kick that he'll probably throw for the rest of his life. I mean, Joe Rogan couldn't have thrown a better spinning back kick.
Very, very good. Very good.
Rencounter suffered 5 broken ribs. Rencounter. So suffered 5 broken ribs, a punctured lung that filled halfway up with blood, and a ruptured kidney. A bruised kidney. It was one fucking kick. One kick.
Yeah. I mean, hearing about that, the extent of the injuries from that kick, I'm surprised that he was standing there for the decision to be red.
Well, he was crouched over for a good portion of the time when he was on the ground. Like, he couldn't even stretch his legs out for a minute. If we're being honest, if we didn't have if this was one of these like backyard fights, that dude definitely could have died for real.
Yeah. Seriously. Oh yeah.
That is as bad of an injury in the cage as you will ever see.
Once you say punctured lung that fills halfway up with blood,
it was literally filled halfway up with blood.
That's really scary.
Yeah. So
it seemed like it. As soon as it happened, I was like, that is very bad.
Yeah.
What was scarier, that kick and the resulting injuries, or the way that Johnny Walker fell like a tree?
No, definitely the body kick. Definitely the body kick. Oh my God.
Johnny Walker was scary, man, when he fell back like that.
It was just how he kind of,
dude,
especially getting hit like just on the top of the head, like in the temple, and then just like falling like a tree in the forest.
Yeah, it's kind of how I knew he'd be all right. I don't know. Like when you get hit in the temple, like it's not great. You know what I mean? But
it's so disorienting.
At the same time, your body's like, no, we're done here. We're done here.
It was the extra shot that concerned me more.
Sure.
The one on the jaw on the ground.
Always.
But the fact that kick sounded like somebody had just snapped a 2x4 in half. I just, and then if you go on Instagram and you look at the freeze frame of the kick itself, it's enough to just it might even just make you gag a little bit. It's so bad.
Hurt. Yeah.
It's so bad.
Well, the other thing of note on that Bellator card that I want to get to was the return of Brennan Ward.
Woo-hoo!
If you are a newer MMA fan, you may not even know. The guy's been out for 5 years. I actually was uninformed. I thought he had simply retired. I completely missed it that this guy was apparently battling severe drug addiction. And he's a guy who was a fixture in Bellator for a while. He let's see, I have it here. Let me make sure I say this correctly. Yeah, he had 15 Bellator fights in 2017 when he kind of left the scene. But yeah, I guess he had a few years there battling real bad drug addiction. They kind of touched on it on the broadcast. They give you a little intro. Apparently he was like using burner phones, so his family couldn't even reach him because he wouldn't talk to them. I guess, I don't know if it was that he was embarrassed or whatever it was. Ended up having a daughter. She was kind of the impetus for him to change his life. And now he's beaten it. He's back. So to hear his story, to see him back fighting at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, where he always used to have huge fights and always had this huge Connecticut following. I forget if that's where he's from or if
he is from Connecticut. Yeah,
it is Connecticut. Okay,
he's from New London.
He always had it. Whenever they fought in Mohegan Sun, he had a huge following there. So to see him come back in that arena with the crowd support like he always used to have, it just felt awesome. And he did not disappoint at all. He is exactly as violent and heavy-handed as he has always been. And he's a great infusion of energy into that Bellator welterweight division. he laid it out right away. He was like, give me any of these young guys. Like, I'm the new test. Let test them against me. Let's see what happens. And also, I just want to give a quick shout out to his opponent, Brendan Bell, who was mind-blowingly tough and would not quit, because Brennan Ward was wailing on this man. I couldn't believe it even got out of round 1. And the fact that that Bell went to his stool and came back out to take more punishment in round 2. Thankfully, it ended fairly quick in round 2. But that's a tough dude, and Brennan Ward is still a scary man.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything else from Bellator?
Watching Brendan Ward in that fight was, if that wasn't inside of a cage, that man would have been in jail for like decades.
Mugging. It was a mugging.
Man. Holy shit. I mean, Brendan Bell being as tough as he is too was borderline tough and just
it was to
straight
his
up
detriment.
Stupid.
Yeah, it was to his detriment for sure.
Like his corner should have just been like, I think we're okay. I think we're done here. We're not going to get anything done tonight.
When Ward had him flattened out for a minute and he kind of scrambled back and got his knees back, like that was the point where he should have just been like, you know what, this isn't going well. Eat a couple. See you later.
But you see, he didn't. Like in round 2, it kind of happened pretty quick. But even then, he was like trying to get up a little bit. But you saw he was turtled up. He's like, "Come on, ref."
He wasn't quitting. Yeah, I think it was more so the ref was like, I can't believe I let that get out of round 1. So as soon as it got bad in round 2, he was like, that's it. We're out of here.
Yeah. It's kind of like a makeup call in basketball.
Yeah.
Physically, though, Brendan Ward looks like a specimen. Like that dude.
Yeah, man.
That dude looks like a monster. There's muscles on top of his muscles. He's a beast.
Yeah, he's always been a stud, that guy. The only problem is now his teeth are fucked up, I guess, from whatever drug issues he had. But
really?
You could always fix your teeth and get yourself right back in the ads.
Gets a few big fights. Yeah, go get.
Did he say what he was on or how it started?
I don't think they said. He did a little interview where he was saying like, no one who was using drugs the way I was using them, or not no one. He said like, I think he said most people who were using drugs the way I was using them are not alive right now, like those kind of things. But I don't think he specifically said what it was.
Probably.
It makes me wonder if they were opiates, because it's just like it's
that
easy
was my
apparently
thought
nowadays.
also.
Like I've been watching all these fucking shows and documentaries about the opioid crisis and like oxycodone basically just making things escalate past a certain point. And I wonder if he got, because as a fighter, it's very common, I feel like, for people to take painkillers when things get really bad, right? And
could have been.
Just
and he even said his last couple losses toward the end of his earlier Bellator career, he was already very fucked up from whatever he was on. Like that, he said he shouldn't have been fighting.
Wow,
damn.
Anything else from this Bellator card, Mark?
That's all I got.
Hey. That being said, boys, before we jump into the rest of the UFC Fight Night, we also want to turn to the bare knuckle side of the combat sports world. Omar, give us a little recap / update of this past weekend's bare knuckle fighting championship card, which had a few popular names on their card.
So first, I want to apologize to everybody that I completely forgot that BKFC was on this past weekend, that we didn't talk about it last week or even touch on it. It was a very interesting event. We learned some things this weekend. The two main events that we were really looking at were Chad Mendes and the Julian Lane versus Mike Perry fight. Chad Mendes is another one that, if that happened in a bar somewhere, that man would be in jail just forever. Okay. He, first of all, he looks like an animal. No smell test in the world is having him pass any roid test. It looks bad. Hopefully somebody's doing their due diligence with the tests out there, but it's very possible that they're not. Anyway, a lot of hooks thrown by Mendes, a lot of hooks landed by Mendes, a lot of drops from the other guy. It was a very dominant performance by Chad Mendes. I think he definitely found his home. He definitely found his success there, because not only did he walk away with a nice paycheck, but I'm pretty sure that he gets a piece of that pay-per-view bonus as well, just based off how many eyes he brought in there. So Chad Mendes is an absolute animal. I definitely recommend, if you like BKFC, to go back and watch that one specifically, because that was just a performance to behold. He was fantastic.
I can't get over how fast he was. Like the way that we know his hand speed, but the way that he closed distance was wild. Like he looked like a tiger catching his prey. And you can almost tell, like when he was dropping the dude, the guy was almost sitting up like, what the fuck just happened to me? Like it was all about the speed.
Yeah, and if you really watch, if you've ever watched Chad Mendes like in MMA, or if you go back and you watch him in his fights, he's basically taken the technique of his double leg, and he's just added it to a punch. He's just not doing a double leg, but the footwork,
it's like a 1-2.
Yeah, the blast that comes from a double leg, he's doing that and adding it to the striking, and he's a problem as a result of it. It's beautiful to see, to be honest. Next on the list, Mike Perry versus Julian Lane. Mike Perry's an animal. I mean, this was basically a street fight that they both got paid money for. It was a great back and forth fight. Julian Lane got dropped early with a nice right hook, hit him right in the temple. But after that, it was pretty competitive. And I think once you really got past maybe the third, fourth round, their hands are just not the same anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody's going to get knocked out past that point. It's just their hands are brittle, and it hurts them probably a lot more than it hurts the other person at that point. So I personally would like to see them change sort of the round sets that they have for BKFC, because after a certain point, it's just not effective. But apart from that, gritty performance. Both of them left there fucked up. Their faces were destroyed, cuts everywhere. Mike Perry gave an interview with Ariel, I think the day after, or a couple days after, and his face was still on the wrong side of swollen. Fantastic performance though, especially like I said, I like BKFC. I like the rawness of it. It's a different type of crazy determination to get a fight done than in some of the other combat sports that we have. But definitely not for the faint of heart. But fantastic performance from Perry and from Chad Mendes. Definitely looking forward to more of them. That's all we got.
Okay. That being said, let us now go into our lightning round. So let's jump right back into this past UFC's Fight Night card, UFC Fight Night, Walker versus Hill, and throw a few of these fights into this lightning round. If you guys don't know, our lightning round is our non-competitive, non-game show where I challenge Mark and Omar to give me their lightningest takes on the results from these fights. So let us begin. UFC Fight Night, Walker versus Hill. Kyle Daukaus, round 1 submission over Jamie Pickett. Mark, go first.
Kyle Daukaus is very well rounded and very tricky for a lot of guys to deal with. I can't tell yet if he's an actual contender or just like a solid mid-tier guy, but that was a nice performance from him either way.
Okay, Omar, Daukaus over Pickett by submission. What's your take?
Yeah, I thought it was a very dominant performance. I thought he didn't really give Pickett any opportunity to do anything. And the fact that he was able to kind of set up that Darce choke, I thought was fantastic, because that was something he had looked like he had been looking for an opportunity for a while. And credit to him, man. Fantastic performance.
Real quick pause on the lightning round. This is worth adding in. I read this morning that Pickett said the reason he tapped is because his tongue got caught in between his teeth and he was afraid he was going to bite his tongue off.
Yep.
Oh, man. Wow. Okay, game on. Connecticut's own Parker Porter, unanimous decision over the Frenchman Alain Baudot, or Baudot, I believe it is. Omar, take it first.
Yeah, I personally did not care for this decision. I did not have Parker Porter winning at all, frankly.
Wow.
There was a lot of control from Parker Porter when it came to the grappling and stuff like that, but when it came to the striking, it was a lot more effective from Baudot. I don't even think Porter really put a lot of it together. It was a weird decision, to be honest. I didn't really care for it. I thought Baudot won.
Mark, what's your reaction? Porter getting the victory over Baudot.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was not very interested in this fight to the point that I wasn't like paying such close attention to the scoring. It did feel kind of like that. Like if Porter won, he barely eked that out, but Baudot didn't look great either, which is why I was just kind of like, this fight. So for a guy who's 3-1 in the UFC now, Porter does not look that great to me, but he managed to get it done.
I will say it annoyed the shit out of me when Baudot started like whooping and wowing like if he was doing something in that fight. I was like, what are you doing, bro? You just look stupid now, especially that you just lost this fight.
Yeah. All right, moving on. One of the ageless wonders on the UFC roster, Jim Miller, gets a TKO victory over Nicholas Mota in the second round. Omar, go first.
Jim Miller needs to be fucking protected at all costs. Okay, there's the pyramids of Egypt, there's Niagara Falls, and there's fucking Jim Miller. He needs to be protected at all costs. You people don't know how lucky you are. You don't know how fantastic Jim Miller really is and what he's doing for you. Just say thank you and keep watching him. Jim Miller is the man. That's it.
Mark, Jim Miller gets another win in his illustrious, long-tenured professional MMA career with a TKO over Nicholas Mota. What's your take?
I don't know how to follow that take, but yeah, Jim Miller is unreal. He's 50 fights into his career. He's 38 years old, and he's still the exact same guy. He's never gun shy. He's always going for the kill. He still has so many weapons. He's dangerous everywhere the fight goes. And after that one now, enough with the newcomers. Like, he doesn't need to be the test of all the new signees. Like, let's let Jim Miller try to put a last run together, have some fun fights against names that we care about, see if he can win a few, see what happens, And on that note, I would love to see him against Cowboy in a battle for who has the most UFC wins, because they're currently tied. I know Cowboy's already booked against Lozon, so if he wins, he'll pass Miller again, but that would be awesome to actually match them up to see who moves into first.
It would. All right, moving on. Joaquin Buckley, split decision over Abdul Razak Al Hassan. Mark, go first.
It was a good win for Buckley. I think Al Hassan really surprised a lot of people by winning round 3. He's very much like a round 1 fighter, and usually if it goes past that, it's kind of downhill for him. So that was good for him to see him win a round 3, and he really put it on Buckley in round 3, who was gassing hard. Buckley was the one gassing, and he was saying pre-fight like, "Oh, if it goes in late rounds, I'm going to be golden." Did not go that way. So the decision even felt a little odd because Buckley was kind of getting whooped on at the end, but he did win those first 2 rounds, so he did deserve the decision, and that is his best win yet, name-wise. So a good one on his record.
Omar, what's your take? Buckley getting the nod from 2 of the judges over Al Hassan.
Yeah, honestly, that fight was kind of a war. I was tired watching that fight. By the end of that fight, both of them were on the ground, just sprawled out. They had nothing left. As far as I'm concerned, those are the type of fights I love to watch. I hate when guys have do push-ups and shit after a fight and show that they have all this infinite energy. Then why is the guy not knocked out if you got all this energy? Huh?
You would be a ruthless promoter.
Oh my God. You would hear, I would make Dana White look like the nicest guy in the world when it comes to that shit. But man, that was a grueling fight, a painstaking fight. Again, to Mark's credit, I definitely was surprised about Al Hassan's return on the 3rd round. Definitely didn't see that coming, especially with Buckley gassing as hard as he did, but still a crazy ass fight nonetheless up until the last bell. I can't wait to watch either one of them fight. Both of them are just so fucking good.
Okay, the Ugandan David Onama, round 1 knockout over Gabriel Benitez. Mark, go first.
David Onama caught a body, and it happened to be Omar's boy. What a scrap it was while it lasted. Benitez hurt Onama multiple times, but couldn't get him out of there. And man, that flurry at the end was just brutal. I think, as Dominic Cruz said, it was like an 11-piece combo, and Benitez was trying to stay standing, and eventually it was just like, nope, this ain't happening. So yeah, Onama is a name to watch.
Omar, give us your sad take over Onama getting it done by knockout with style over your boy Gabriel Benitez.
Yeah, I mean, credit where credit is due, man. He ate a lot of shit before he ended up knocking out Gabriel Benitez. I really was thinking that was Benitez's night. Came in with Kane as his coach. Like, he had everything kind of working for him. The performance itself, to be honest, up until he got knocked out, was pretty goddamn fantastic, if we're being honest. Lots of body shots, lots of good, strong body shots, a lot of connection from Benitez, but the reality was Benitez got clipped, and to Onama's credit, he clipped him and followed up with it, didn't let him off the hook, completely swarmed him, and was able to get clean shots off on his face. And he put Benitez out. He put him out on his shield. Benitez is the type of guy that didn't want to really, doesn't want to go out any other way. And Benitez is not going to quit. And it was tough to watch for me just because I'm a fan. But the reality was it was a fantastic performance from Onama.
The Swiss Stephanie Egger round 1 submission over Jessica Rose Clark. Omar, go first.
Oh shit. Oh shit. We got somebody to watch out for, because in no way would you have had me picking Stephanie Egger over Jessica Rose Clark. It just wasn't going to happen. And yet, I'm super interested now in this Stephanie. So I'm ready for the next fight because, oh shit.
Mark, what's your take? Egger round 1 submission over Jessica Rose Clark.
So Stephanie Egger showed in her last fight that she was like stupidly strong, and I kind of just dismissed it. And I think it's safe to say that Stephanie Egger is stupidly strong because she did it again. She's a super technical grappler as well. And you combine those two things and she could be a problem. So she wowed me in that one, and it's time to put some respect on her name as someone to watch as she comes up here.
Yeah, man, she has a lot of submission victories on her record.
Yeah.
The Texan, Chaz Skelly, round 2 TKO over Mark Striegel. Mark, take this one first.
Yeah, Chaz Skelly, man, what a great performance, and what a weird spot it feels like it is for him to walk away, because, you know, he's 8-4 in his UFC career. It's a solid record, but he just feels like he never really made like any kind of name for himself, never caught that buzz, had the wins at the right time over the right guy. And it feels weird that he's gone now, because it almost feels like maybe now's the time he could get something going. But he said he's going to step aside. So I guess it's good to go out on a win. It was a nice win.
It's the way to go out if there is ever one. Omar, give us your take. Skelly getting it done in his final UFC fight by TKO over Mark Striegel.
It was a good fight. I didn't even know Chaz Skelly was still fighting up until we talked about it last week. So it was nice to see him go in there and kind of put on a good performance. The one thing that I really want to take away from that fight was that finish. That might have been one of the most gorgeous step-in lead elbows. I mean, if we're being honest, I showed a couple people that at the gym because that's how you throw it. That's literally how you throw it. You have a lot of guys, especially like newer guys, when they come into the gym and they're learning their elbows and their things like that. A lot of guys will instinctively throw their elbows up. They'll like fucking uppercut with elbows as their lead elbow. That ain't how you throw it. You're going to miss every time, and they're going to crack you right in the face. And so to watch Chaz Skelly just post that arm and just move forward right into the crash was as perfect technique as it gets, man. And it showed just exactly how effective a perfectly timed elbow can be, and I loved every minute of it.
Brazil's Glorida de Paula, unanimous decision over Diana Belbita. Omar, go first.
Yeah, De Paula's got hands, dog. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen her or remember seeing her, but I will now. The girl's got some serious hands, and she put it together that night. She was getting tagged a little bit, but all in all, that was a solid striking performance from De Paula.
Mark, bring us home. De Paula gets the win over Belbita.
Yeah, De Paula was 0-2 in the UFC. She had lost to Jinyu Fry and lost to Cheyenne Vlismas. And I guess we just didn't really get a chance to see what she has, because I agree. I did not see that coming. I knew that Diana Belbita had some pretty striking. I did not think De Paula could hang with her on the feet like that. And she had some super clean striking. You know, they were both landing great shots, pretty shots. And it was tough to score. It was a good back and forth, but I do feel like the decision went the right way. De Paula just seemed to kind of edge things out, and it was a great W for her. And I'm sure saved her job, because 0-3, she was probably out of there. So, yeah, good win.
And that does it for this week's lightning round. Thank you, gentlemen. And now let us put a bow on this past weekend's UFC Fight Night Walker versus Hill by finding out who rose and who fell in our very own ranking system, the Priaulx Rankings. Mark?
All right, so as I've been doing lately, I'm just going to work down the card with it. Had 5 risers on this one. No one huge, but some solid ones. Kyle Dawkins was my number 53 middleweight. I hadn't really moved him into the pack yet, even though he was maybe going to beat Kevin Holland, but I can't award him the win because obviously ended in some controversy. So he moves from number 53 to 41 in my middleweight rankings. I kind of feel like maybe he should be even higher, but his wins right now are still just Jamie Pickett and Dustin Stoltzfus. So we'll wait. But from 53 to 41, so nice jump for him. Then we have Joaquin Buckley moving from number 44 to 32 in that same middleweight division. Nice jump here. He moves to 4-2 in the UFC and definitely adds the most respected name so far to his resume. So nice jump for him. David Onama, by taking out Omar's boy, moves from number 74 in my featherweight rankings to number 58. He's low because that was his first UFC win. He had debuted up a weight class on like a week's notice. Didn't go well for him, but he's a big prospect. And now with a camp in his proper weight class, he gets the W. So definitely a name to watch there. He jumps to 58 in my featherweight rankings. Stephanie Egger, who we just mentioned, had her at 21 at women's bantamweight. She takes a small jump to 17. Continuing her slow march up, I would certainly imagine she gets a ranked opponent in her next one. And then the last is Gloria DePaula. Saves her job, like we said, had her down at 40, which is pretty much the bottom of the women's strawweight rankings. That's about how many girls are in that division. Jumps up to 33 now, and honestly looked very good. So we'll see what she can do from here. Same as last week. It feels weird that there's no fallers, but no one really got beat in a way that would change their ranking so much. I had some guys move down like 2-3 spots. Doesn't feel like I should note it here. So yeah, no fallers. And that is it for the rankings this week.
Okay, thank you very much. And that does it for this past weekend's recaps. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you to our audience for sticking with us up until this point. Let me remind you guys one more time. If you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't yet subscribed and you like our content, please do us the favor and subscribe to the channel. Hit that thumbs up and hit the bell icon so that you never miss an episode. Find us wherever you get your podcasts and let us join you on your commute or when you're doing your dishes. And of course, find us on social media and DM us with your questions or concerns. We are at @new_MMA show in all the places. That being said, at this time in the episode, let us dive into the headlines and go inside the MMA sphere. Omar?
All right. So let's get into it a little bit. Not too much went on this week. So we're just going to get into a couple little things here. Khamzat Chimaev. We are going to continue to grow the legend that is Khamzat. Khamzat. Got to get the fucking legend's name right. Jesus.
Yeah.
Think of it as like he's a ham. He's a ham of a guy.
Khamzat. Darren Till has been training with Chimaev, I believe up in Sweden. And apparently he has told Bisping that he is the 100% real deal. Another elite fighter has like just tapped. Just christened Chimaev again with words of praise. Alexander Gustafsson has literally had nothing but great things to say about Chimaev, especially about how sick he really is. And so it just really seems like I can't, and I was talking about this with Mike earlier, I cannot remember another fighter other than Conor at this point who is as hyped as he.
Yeah, I can't either.
It's
like every week someone else comes out being like, oh, I never told you this story about how Khamzat Chimaev killed 10 dudes by himself. It's like, okay.
What's wild too is, there's obviously some videos going around of the Darren Till stuff and him being over there in training, and you can see them wrestling together and all the kind of stuff. And Darren Till looks like he's about to die. Like Darren Till is on the ground pondering his life, and Khamzat chilling. He's not even breathing hard. Yeah. Having a full-on conversation with the camera guy. It's good, brother. It's good. Today I teach him wrestling. Tomorrow you teach me striking. This is how it goes.
A smash.
They smash.
Brother.
And it's just it's a scary prospect to think that Chimaev is really this good, because the landscape of, I don't know, 170, maybe 185, if he's really talking all that shit, possibly 205, could really, really, really change within the next couple of years.
Yeah.
It's very intriguing and terrifying all at the same time.
I mean, we're here. Like the next fight, is it official yet? I hate the UFC sometimes. Can we make the fight official? But
everywhere I've seen, it says Burns and Chimaev are going to be either co-headlining or headlining 273, I believe.
Okay, so assuming we're getting that, like, this is it. If he looks like a murderer against Gilbert Burns, we can officially say all the hype was real. Like, we're going to find out very soon.
You know what? Let me look on here real quick. Let's see.
Yeah, it's not official. I just looked.
Okay, it's not on here. Okay. I mean, honestly, Burns is fucking crazy to take that fight. Just with the difference in ranking, just alone. I mean, the
You're
dude
stuck
could.
without a fight for long enough, and you fucking take. That's what I was saying. Remember, I said that way back that Burns or Luque might say, you know what, give me this friggin' fight because I have no one else to fight.
It's just so crazy to me, man. I will say, if they put it on the 273 card, that card is going to be just.
What's that mean? What's 273?
273 is Volkanovski against
right,
Zombie, Sterling Yan, Rosenstrike, Tybura. I mean, that the whole card is stacked. Ian Gary's on that fight.
That'd be dope.
I mean, yeah, it's a great card to throw him on, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Chimaev legend lives on. We've talked about Jamie Pickett, but I'm just gonna go over it again real quick. His tongue did get caught between his teeth.
Oh, I stole your shine. Sorry.
No, you're good. It did look like, or he did think it was going to get cut off, so that's why he tapped, and he did tap like milliseconds before the bell went off.
Yep.
A lot of people were giving him shit for it. A lot of people were like, being a pussy and tap whatever. He thought he was about to lose his tongue. I don't give him any shit for it at all.
That shit annoys me too because like he's in a Darce choke. He doesn't know how many friggin' seconds are left. Like, sorry that he couldn't just hop out of the Darce choke and be like, oh, it's 5 seconds. Let me hold out. All right, put me back in. Like, come on.
Yeah. I mean, it was
that take.
Especially being that tight. If it wasn't, it doesn't even sound like it was about him choking out, because I think at that point he wouldn't have tapped. I don't think many people would have tapped. But the tongue thing, I probably would have tapped. It sounds terrible. Yeah. JJ back in the news, had an interview with MMA Fighting. She's basically at this point, although she's been inactive for, I want to say, for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years almost at this point. She's not trying to come back and just fight anybody. She's definitely not trying to come back for an easy fight. At this point, she looks like she's waiting for Weili Zhang. Apparently, Weili's timeline, though, seems to keep getting changed. First, it was March, April, and then I think at some point they had it as like May, June, and now it's July, August. So we're not really sure exactly when those two are going to fight, but that does seem like that's going to be the next fight on the horizon for both of those ladies. I definitely want to see that rematch because that was, to this day, still probably one of the best women's fights I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, yeah. To this day.
So I definitely want to make sure that happens, but it just seems like we don't know when it is going to happen. Also, JJ having real issues with the pace situation in the UFC. She was a champion, obviously, for the longest time. As a result, she had pay-per-view points whenever she fought, because she always fought on a pay-per-view card, and that earned her a shit ton of money. At this point, ever since she's lost the belt, she does not have that option anymore, and although she doesn't, she's using people like Conor McGregor as an example, as somebody who does get pay-per-view points regardless of their championship status. Her argument is that she brings asses into the seats, which I actually don't disagree with. And I've said it before that I think that there are certain people, especially past champions, that should retain pay-per-view points even when they lose their championship status. I think it's crazy to say that just because they're champions, they get pay-per-view points. We've seen champions not bring any asses into the seats. I think the people who bring people into the seats are the ones who deserve to get pay-per-view points. I'd argue Sean O'Malley deserves pay-per-view points, if we're being honest. So I don't necessarily disagree with JJ at this point. I just wish that she would get in and fight to sort of have a little bit more leverage, I guess, in her argument.
I don't argue that she does bring asses to the seats. Comparing her to Conor, I know it's not you that compared it. She compared it. Is pretty silly. They're not even on the same planet. But anyway,
I think just her point was is just that he's not a champion anymore, right? Like we've seen the fact that people who aren't champions can still bring asses into the seats, and they deserve to be compensated as such. I totally agree with that sentiment.
Right. She's arguing that the precedent has already been set because of Conor. Except that
there's got to be more guys. Does it? You tell me Jorge Masvidal is not getting pay-per-view points against Colby? He's got to be, right?
That's a very good point. What about Nate Diaz, excuse me?
Yeah, these guys got to get points.
It's a business. That would be shocking. Everything is negotiable.
Yeah.
Everything's negotiable.
And which is why JJ is making that point, because it seems like they're just trying to stall her out and not really take her seriously. When she has a valid like reason to say what she says. You know, we were just saying like 5 seconds ago how she is one half of one of the greatest women's fights we've ever seen.
One of the best fights we've ever seen.
Might be the greatest.
Yes.
I think it might be the greatest
You're
women's
absolutely
fight.
right.
I'm trying to think. And one of the best fights, period. Yeah.
So it just, she's warranted in what she's saying, and hopefully they give her something that eases that payment concern a little bit. we had touched on recently the Ozdemir and the Jamahal Hill kind of back and forth a little bit. Basically, Jamahal Hill tweeted out, stop doubting me and kind of retweeting the UFC's image that he had of him. And Volkan Ozdemir was like, I'm still doubting you on Twitter. And Jamahal Hill said, I mean, that's understandable. The guy with the brain damage that you took in your last 2 fights, one against the guy making his debut. My hands will change your life.
Ouch.
Think it's a game. Fuck around and find out. Again, I'm 100% here for that fight.
Yeah, man.
Guy making his debut was Yuri Prohaska.
I was thinking the same thing.
Like, it's a little bit of a stupid comment, but the rest of it, I'm here for. Yeah.
Jamahal Hill don't give a shit. He said that was his first fight in the UFC, and you let him get smoked.
Call him by his proper name, Omar. Main Event Mall.
Main Event Mall. You're absolutely right. I'm sorry for the disrespect. Main Event. All right, that's all the news we got, all the shit talking we've got. Let's get into some fight announcements. First, a couple of changes to some upcoming cards. Arian Lipski. Let's start right. Arian Lipski is out against Jillian Robinson or JJ Aldrich. She will now be facing Jillian Robinson at UFC Fight Night on March 12th. Mike Davis is out. Ilia Topuria is going to be stepping in against Jai Herbert at UFC London on March 19th. Jordan Leavitt.
Wait. At what weight?
That's going to be a lightweight bout.
Wow, so Topuria is going up to lightweight.
Yep.
That's very random. Wow.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's just because it's quote-unquote short notice to a certain extent. But yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like a guy who's like, I think he just got ranked, or he's at least borderline ranked at featherweight. He has so much hype. It's so random to be like, I'm going to go up and fight Jai Herbert, of all people.
I would agree. I would agree.
Anyway, keep it going.
Jordan Leavitt versus Victor Martinez has been added to UFC Fight Night April 16th. Big fan of Jordan Leavitt. Can't wait to see him fight again. Darren the Damage Elkins versus Tristan Connolly has been added to UFC Fight Night April 30th. That one, I think it's safe to say that we will all be picking Darren Elkins for that one. Just because it's Darren Elkins, man.
It's a very same kind of dude fight, actually. Like, they're both so, like, not pretty and just grindy.
And if I had to pick one, I'm always going to probably pick Darren Elkins.
Pick Elkins.
Man. Yeah. The boy Nick Maximoff from 209 is back versus Andre Petrosky. That has been added to Fight Night May 14th. That's an interesting fight stylistically.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah, so because Andre Petrosky is not going to get caught with a lot of those bullshit takedowns that Maximoff was able to get in the last fight that he had. So it'll be interesting to see that once that's taken away from him, what else he's got, because he'll be forced to fight in that one.
Yeah.
That's all I got for you, boys.
Sounds good. And now let us turn towards the future, gentlemen, to this coming weekend. We have 2 cards this weekend, both Bellator and UFC. Let us first preview the Bellator card. So this Friday night, February 25th, is Bellator 275, Mousasi versus Vanderford. It is going down at the 3 Arena in Dublin, Ireland. That's right. We've got Gegard Mousasi. He is set to defend his middleweight title against the undefeated Austin Vanderford. So let's break this down real quick. Gegard, the dream catcher Mousasi, he's 36 years old. He's Turkish? What is he? I forgot to look this up.
Well, he's not Turkish.
Is he like Iranian?
No,
he's Dutch.
Iranian, but he lives in Holland.
Yes, I'm sorry. So he's 36. This is his second reign as the Bellator middleweight champion. So after regaining the belt by defeating Douglas Lima back in October of 2020, he successfully defended the belt against John Salter, finishing him with punches back at Bellator 264 back in August of last year. Folks, if you don't know, Gegard Mousasi has 57 professional MMA fights, 48 victories, only 7 losses. 57 pro fights, still has single-digit losses. Out of his 48 wins, 39 of them he has won by either knockout or submission. This is a serious man and someone who we should consider a privilege that we get to watch him while he is still active. On the other side of the Bellator cage, we have a guy with a very different resume. Austin, the gentleman Vanderford, he is undefeated, but in only 11 professional MMA bouts. And he's 31. He's from Oregon, and he's coming off a win against Fabian Edwards back in at some point last year. I don't know. Mark, let me start with you. What is your take? What is your
sorry,
go ahead. Yeah, I'll just throw it over to you. What's your reaction to this matchup? And what's your take?
I was going to say I'm glad you started with me because I realized that I misspoke a minute ago. Okay. Gegard was born in Iran. He is not Iranian. He is Armenian. His parents are Armenian. Was born in Iran, moved to Holland. That's where he lives now, but he is Armenian.
Okay.
99% sure that's accurate. Anyway, lines for this fight. Gegard Mousasi, minus 250. Austin Vanderford, plus 185. I guess I'm missing something. I get it that Austin Vanderford is undefeated and that he's looked good and that he obviously has far less wear and tear on his body than Gegard. I get it that you could say I'm kind of a Gegard fanboy because I will accept that. But the fact that Vanderford is not even a 2-1 underdog is blowing my mind. I thought his odds would be double that. Like I thought he would be plus 350 something way higher. So I don't know what I'm missing here. Like what is the route? Like, do people think Vanderford can take Gegard down and control him for 25 minutes? Because A, I don't. And B, if not that, what other route is there to him winning this fight? My take is so strong on it and the odds are so much closer than I thought that I'm almost feeling like I'm going to be wrong and look dumb. And if that's the case, I guess I'll be the first one to raise my hand next week. But I just don't see it. I don't want to make it sound like Gegard is going to like walk through him like he's nothing. I get it that he's very strong and that he can wrestle and so on. But I think Gegard beats him. I think he finishes him, whether it's with his fists or a sub. I think he looks just as dominant as he did in his last one against John Salter. I'll say third round Vanderford gets to, but yeah, I think it's Mousasi all the way.
Okay, Omar, let's bring you in here. What is your breakdown of this fight between the legend Gegard Mousasi and Austin Vanderford in Bellator 275?
Yeah, I think this is one of those times where it's kind of like Bellator showing its ass a little bit because in what world do you see these two guys next to each other and really think that the experience that Gegard has, all the fights this man has been in, all the people he's fought, all the styles he's seen, all the looks he's seen, that Austin is somehow going to come in there and offer him something completely out of left field that he's just going to beat Gegard Mousasi. And I think a lot of it has to do with how things have worked out in the Bellator division, how Vanderford has a very big following, especially because of the Paige Van Zandt stuff. People know who he is. We were just talking about bringing asses into seats. Vanderford does that. If we're looking at this objectively from just fighting, I'm pretty sure Mousasi's styles on him every which way. I'll fucking say it. I think he runs through him like a goddamn tank. I don't think Vanderford has anything for him. I think Gegard Mousasi is way too well-rounded, way too strong in and of his own right. That dude has farm boy strength. That man doesn't even look like he has the strength that he actually does. We've seen him like chuck people, and he doesn't even look like he's that strong in the first places. Yep. Mousasi is a problem, has always been a problem. Like we're talking about, even with his no contest, if you add his losses and his no contest, that's still single digits. Okay? It's just wild to me that this is where we're at. Can something possibly happen? Can Vanderford obviously pull something off? Yes, it's MMA. Literally anything is possible. Are the odds in his favor? Fuck no. Mousasi has every path given to him to beat the shit out of Austin Vanderford. And if he loses this fight, as far as I'm concerned, Mousasi has no one to blame but himself.
Okay.
You know what's the most frustrating thing about it for me? It's that exactly what you're just saying. You have this guy, Gegard Mousasi, who is a legend, who still looks like he's as dominant as ever. And you have Austin Vanderford, of all people across from him, when we are in the time where Israel Adesanya exists. You have him and Mousasi, who are both champions. Mousasi's not going to be around forever. And it's just that, like, they're the two most absolute perfect challenges to put across from each other and be like, what happens? And as MMA fans, we just can't have it. And we're probably never going to have it. It's going to run out of time for Mousasi's career before that's ever a possibility, probably. And instead, we have to watch him stuck in Bellator fighting Austin Vanderford. And I get it that he made this choice, and he has maybe had some fun opponents at different times. And who knows, maybe he's going to challenge the light heavyweights if he beats Vanderford, which would actually be pretty dope if he does that. There's some talent in light heavyweight in Bellator. But it's just like, man, like, why can't we just have the freaking nice, shiny thing that it feels like is the obvious thing to do? So it's frustrating that we got to watch him do this. And part of me wonders if that's how he feels. And I hope he can get himself up for this fight and not turn in a disappointing performance because it's an opponent that really does nothing for him at all.
Yeah, I've heard Mousasi in the past and having opinions about certain guys and things like that. And it sounds like his motivation has really come from the fact that his contract is what he wants it to be finally, is how he wants it to be. And I think that's why we'll never really see the fight with Adesanya at this point, because the UFC will literally never have what he wants to offer.
Are you sure, though? Because, like, I don't know how many fights Gegard has left. Say it's only like 2. Say he beats Vanderford and then fights freaking Yoel, maybe, or whoever, and wins. And Izzy, in the meantime, beats Cannonier and maybe beats Strickland or whatever. Like, the UFC middleweight division is not the most stacked. Like, Izzy's almost cleaned it out if he beats those 2 guys. Like, would it shock you if the UFC was like, you know what? Let's freaking make this super fight. Like, I could still see it. But that's only if the Mousasi's contract is up soon. And for all I know, he has 5 more Bellator fights. I have no idea.
I mean, the fact that Mousasi he essentially wanted to be able to have his sponsorship and basically be free to do what he wants. The UFC will never give him that freedom.
Not that, but I'm saying if it was right into an Izzy title fight, he would probably get quite the amount of paper.
Yeah, he definitely would. I mean, he would definitely get paid, I would hope in the millions. But the reality is the UFC doesn't necessarily see, and I don't think has ever seen Mousasi as a guy that puts asses in the seats. As good as Mousasi is,
but
I don't think
they could build that, dude. You know how good they could do a countdown for that? Like, they could make that feel like a big deal. You remember when they brought Jake Shields in? Jake Shields puts 0 asses in seats. Do you guys remember when they brought him in to fight GSP?
Yep.
How good those promos were, and they had all the belts hanging everywhere in both promos as if they were both like unbeatable welterweight kings. Like, they promoted the shit out of that fight, and it was Jake Shields who was boring.
I mean, we could say that about tons of people currently in the UFC. The UFC could do a lot more for a lot of people. First of all, they could do a lot more for Ngannou, and that's saying something.
That's intentional, I think.
Right, but that's my point. Does Mousasi want to spend the twilight of his years fucking around with the UFC and their bullshit? It's like going back to high school.
If he wins the title, he's got to stay. If he doesn't win, he can go back.
Oh. Honestly, the UFC sometimes, the way that they deal with people, especially and we've said this, I think, multiple times, both in private and I think on this show, that every time that they announce a fight without telling somebody, and these people find out on fucking Instagram that they have a fight, it's like, how do you do business? How do you expect people to take you guys seriously, especially somebody who's already established? Like, you know, we want guys like Mousasi, but I don't think the UFC even respects Mousasi the way that he deserves to be respected, and I don't blame him for having left to Bellator, because he gets treated, it looks like a goddamn king in Bellator.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he cares more about that than he ever will against a fight with Adesanya at this point. He doesn't have anything else to prove, really.
Yeah.
I agree.
What's more likely is that he is going to go try to fight at light heavyweight. I mean, which he's done before.
Yeah.
But I just would rather the Adesanya route. But
of course,
it'll be fun if he, you know, say it's him and Nemkov or him and Corey Anderson. Like, I'm here for it.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Give me Ryan Bader so I could see him knock out Ryan Bader.
I think he's done. I think he's a heavyweight for good at this point.
Damn it.
All right, let's move on. This week and the very next night, unless you guys have anything else to say about this Bellator card.
Oh, I was just going to say a couple small things. You got Sinead Kavanaugh and Leah McCourt in the co-main event. Only reason I'm touching on it is because outside of Kat Zingano, who they thought was going to fight Cyborg, and now it kind of fell through. Outside of her, Leah McCourt is like the only other hope of like a fresh face that maybe feels like she's worthy of fighting Cyborg. So she fights Kavanaugh here, who I've never thought was so great either, but she's a vet. She's a test from McCord who's still kind of unproven. She's undefeated in Bellator still. And if she gets by Kavanaugh here and the Zingano stuff still keeps not working out, I could see them maybe rocket ship McCourt to Cyborg, which I'm sure is not going to go well. But she's looked good so far, so we'll see what she does here. And then the other one of note is Jornel Lugo is on this card, who is the guy we've touched on who kind of got shafted and not shafted. I mean, someone had to miss it, but missed the Bantamweight Grand Prix. He's probably the last guy outside looking in that didn't get in that Grand Prix. So he's on this card fighting Brian Moore, who is from Ireland, cards in Ireland. So he's fighting the hometown guy. It'll be a big spot. He'll have a chance to turn Moore back and continue to look good. And I'm sure, keep his name in that mix for whoever maybe loses in that Grand Prix.
Okay. That being said, let us now turn to the UFC side of things this coming weekend. The very next night on Saturday night, February 26th at UFC Fight Night, Makhachev versus Green, taking place once again at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. We have a very cool main event bout that is not quite the fight that we wanted to get, that we had in our grasps. It slipped out of our hands like a bar of soap. That being Islam Makhachev versus Beneil Dariush. Would have been lightweight madness. But we have a constellation of sorts because Bobby King Green stepped in on, 10 or 11 days' notice, having just come off a very nice, impressive victory over Nasrat Haqparast 10 days ago. So let's preview this fight real quick. We want to finish on that. I'm so sorry. Let's first go to...
Start on it if you framed it up already.
All right. Fine. Cool. So we've got Islam, the 30-year-old, still pretty young, entering the prime of his career, prime of his life. He is the Russian Dagestani. His record, gentlemen, stands at 21-1, with 13 finishes, 10 of them coming by way of submission. He's riding a 9-fight win streak coming into this fight night, most recently submitting Dan the Hangman Hooker with a Kimura back in October of last year. Bobby King Green, like I said, the fill-in, 35-year-old Californian. His record stands as a pro at 29-12 with 18 finishes. He has won his last 2 fights over Raging Al Iaquinta and, like I said, Nasrat Haqparast. And he has won 5 of his last 7. He's on somewhat of a nice little run here. Mark, let me start with you. What is your reaction to this fight being made with Bobby Green filling in, and what's your thoughts on the fight?
So I'll give you the odds. First, Islam Makhachev is a monstrous favorite at minus 800, which Omar called last week. It's the lines haven't really moved. I thought they'd get tighter because that, minus 800 in MMA is honestly kind of ridiculous. Like you see that in boxing. MMA has too much craziness for lines to be that wide. So I kind of thought we'd get down into the 6s, but nope, they haven't even budged all week. So he's minus 800. Bobby Green is plus 550. A lot of emotions here on this one. First off, I am crushed that we're not getting Islam versus Beneil.
Yeah.
I hate it. It was such a perfect fight in so many different ways. I loved it. It sucks that we're not getting to see it. Second, Bobby Green is the friggin' man. We knew that already, but I love him stepping up here, and I love that he is going to get that main event shine that he deserves. And thirdly, I hate that Bobby Green is getting this type of fight, which I've been wanting him to get, and that it has to be on such short notice. I think that a true booking of Bobby Green versus Islam could have been fun and a lot more interesting. The short notice makes it tough for me. He would have been an underdog, of course, if he had a full camp and all that. He would need a lot to go right. But I would have been intrigued as hell to see that, full camp, good weight, and not suddenly trying to drop 25 pounds when he got a call from the UFC in the middle of a sushi bar. It's already, he really did. That's the truth.
No, I know. I heard the interview.
Yeah. So it's already hard enough to beat Islam Makhachev. To ask Green to do it when Makhachev doesn't even have to cut hard now. They're fighting at 160, so he can save those last 5 pounds.
Wow.
Green didn't get to do a camp for him. He still has to do a big cut. It's not the best. I feel like Green beating Makhachev would require the perfect scenario, and this doesn't feel like the perfect scenario. But With all that being said, can Bobby Green make this interesting? Yes, I absolutely think he's capable, at least early. Bobby Green can wrestle more than the average fan may realize, so it's possible he stuffs a few early ones. And the confidence that Bobby Green is fighting with right now is something to behold. And I really think it's a factor until Islam finds a way to shake him off that confidence. If he can manage to stay standing in round one and land some of these combos, maybe crack Islam's nose or catch him clean on the eye or whatever it may be, and Islam has to go back to his corner, feeling it, knowing he's in a dogfight that he hasn't really been in yet with anyone to this point in his career. He got KO'd, but it was a flash KO. It wasn't the same kind of mental push-through deal. You never know how things go. So it could be interesting. There's just a lot working against that outcome. Bobby Green's striking is not nearly as active when he has to worry about takedowns. It's still active, but it's just not the same. We saw that against guys like Gegard Close, like Thiago Moises. He's not necessarily a knockout threat, so it's not like he can just catch Islam and drop him. I mean, don't tell that to Ali Quinta. So it feels like he would need to be able to put volume on Islam to get him out of there. And in the end, putting consistent volume on Islam is just a really hard thing to do. So while I feel that it's possible Green could start hot, I think it's too hard to keep Islam off of you. And Islam is a good striker. Let's not forget. Mm-hmm. So as much as maybe he could get caught with a few things, you know, he's not out of his depth striking. He can turn the tide back. But to keep Islam off you for that long for Green to be able to put enough volume on him to win that fight just feels like it's hard to do. I think eventually it becomes Islam's fight. It wouldn't shock me if it's always Islam's fight. I'm kind of just trying to paint the Bobby Green picture here. But I think either way, Islam takes over at one point or another. I think he gets Bobby Green down, kind of turns into more about the grappling than any defensive wrestling coming from Bobby Green, and just starts to drown him. I think it's kind of an inevitability. I wish I wasn't saying that. I will say Islam by sub in round 3, which would then bring the question of, is Islam going to get the winner of Oliveira and Gaethje off beating 2 1 week notice replacements in Hooker and Bobby Green, which feels a little shaky. I don't know how long Beneil Dariush is out. Huh?
It's not his fault, though.
I know it's not his fault, but what I was going to say is I don't know how long Beneil Dariush is out. Oliveira Gaethje's not till May 7th. If there's a way to still make that fight in like June or something, I wish they would go that route, but who knows?
All right, Omar, what are your thoughts on this matchup between Islam Makhachev and Bobby Green?
What I want to happen? I want Bobby Green to go in there and punch him in the fucking face. That's what I want to happen. Do I think that's going to be an easy task? Not by any stretch of the imagination. Islam is as much as we've talked about him in his last couple fights and us not necessarily being sure exactly how good he is and what his real potential is and that kind of stuff. I think the Dan Hooker one, although it was short notice, was still, I mean, you don't do that to Dan Hooker. It just doesn't really happen. And he did it and he made it look easy, and it was so easy. It was fucked up. Bobby Green is the type of guy, though, that I never count out. Bobby Green is probably one of the true scrappers in the UFC. I don't even see, I see him, even if he got taken down for 5 rounds by Makhachev, Bobby Green's still going to get up and talk shit about how he beat your ass. He's one of the guys I love watching fight, but I know he has his limitations. Makhachev just frankly has a lot better paths to victory than Bobby Green does. I would like to see Bobby Green get the win somehow. Like Mark was saying, just catch him with something, is because I think Bobby Green's striking, frankly, is better. I think it's crisper than Islam's is. But the fact is, Islam has more tools to chain his striking with. So, in other words, while he's setting up certain strikes, he's also setting up the takedown. And the combination of the two, just like people like Colby Covington, people like Kamaru Usman, when they're able to combine those things together, it gets a lot of people off of their game, and they don't really know. They're never comfortable staying in one spot. So if it gets to that point and Bobby Green isn't able to stay striking properly because he's worried about the takedowns, he's worried about the clinch, he's worried about some kind of throw, it would make for a very difficult night for Bobby Green, to say the least. So logic says that Makhachev is going to win this fight. I'll probably say round 2 submission. But God damn, do I want Bobby Green to win so bad.
Yeah, man. I think we all do, especially because he's such an underdog. Mark?
I was going to say we need your take on this one.
Yeah. I'm going to go Islam by submission in round 2 as well. I kind of want to be a little more bold and say he's going to get him out of there in the first round again. But I think that Bobby Green is going to be a better defensive grappler than Dan Hooker was. So I'll say he'll last to the bell in round 1, but then it's going to be a shorter round 2 because Islam is just going to put it on him even more.
I wonder if Bobby Green gets gangster with him and starts talking shit to him in the cage.
I hope so, man.
I
That'd
hope
be
so,
awesome.
dude. Anything you can do to make Islam feel like this is different than what I've dealt with before.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, do all of that. All of that.
As Bobby Green is hitting him, I just want him to yell out, smash, 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 with each punch.
I hope Bobby starts talking from the bell.
Yeah.
And starts getting his head.
I kind of have a vibe that round 1 might end, and it might be like, holy shit, this is a fight. And then round 2 is going to happen. It's going to be like, oh, no. It's not.
Yeah. I think, Islam's going to die for like an ankle pick and just get him down one way or another, and then just work from position to position. And at 3 minutes into the round, he's going to secure some kind of choke or something. It'll be
as rare as it is. We've seen Bobby Green get controlled on the ground before. It is possible. Hopefully he's put a lot more work, obviously, into that part of his game since that happened. But Islam.
That's why I wish it was a full camp at least. Like he could have trained the shit out of his defensive wrestling for months at least. But this stinks.
I'm interested in this coming Thursday and Friday to see them face off because they're both listed at 5'10" or they're both listed at 5'11". I forget which one it is, but I know that they're listed at the same exact height.
Right.
I feel like Islam is such a giant at lightweight. He's just filled out more.
He feels
and
bigger
more.
for sure. Yeah.
He just feels like such a big lightweight, and
which them fighting at 160 helps that as well, because Islam is already bigger. Bobby Green is the smaller man, so any extra pounds are just making Islam even larger, differently than he was. I can't say what I'm trying to say, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm assuming from a mental standpoint, it's got to be nice for Islam too. He went in there mentally ready to make 155, and now he basically just got it easy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I want to highlight one other fight on this UFC Fight Night card that is also happening in the UFC lightweight division. That happening between Arman Tsarukyan. Sorry, I had to just gather his name real quick. And Joel Alvarez. This is an exciting fight, guys. And so Tsarukyan, the 25-year-old Russian/Armenian, he is 17-2, 5-1 in the UFC with 11 finishes. He's riding a 4-fight win streak coming into this fight. And Joel Alvarez, the 28-year-old Spaniard, he is 19-2 with 19 finishes. That's right. He has not won a fight by decision. All his fights have come by way of knockout or submission. And of those 19 wins, 16 of them have come by way of submission. This man is a submission artist, to say the least. Omar, let me start with you this time. What is your take, Tsarukyan versus Alvarez?
Yeah, I actually really like Alvarez. Do you know what his nickname is? I feel like you'd have so much fun saying his nickname, Mike.
It's like phenomenal.
El Fenomeno.
Oh yeah.
Mike's gonna have a fucking ball with that one.
Have you heard Tsarukyan's nickname?
No.
It's like 20 syllables long. It's some like Armenian or Russian word. I've looked it up. I cannot find what it means.
I gotta look now.
Alhal Kalekits.
Oh wow.
That was terrible.
It's like Ala Kala Kelts.
Ahal Kalekets.
I'm not sure.
Oh.
But El Fenomeno. Yeah, man. I'm a big fan of his, man. I just he's a very technical person. I love watching guys who are that skilled on the ground when it comes to their submission game. There's just a real elegance to the way that they move and the way that they're able to get certain positions. With that being said, Arman Tsarukyan, I mean, that's the ground game is kind of his thing. Like it's, he enjoys it down there. Now after this past weekend, I'm wondering if we're going to get to see basically a full stand-up fight, in which case I would probably still pick Joel Alvarez over him. Or if it's going to end up going to the ground, in kind of a BJJ wrestler kind of deal. Either way, I think that Joel Alvarez has more tools to win that fight personally. And that's not to say the Tsarukyan is not a fantastic fighter, because he is, but these two guys together, stylistically, I think Alvarez ends up walking away with the victory. I'm going to go with second round KO.
By Alvarez. Okay. Mark, bring us home, buddy. What is your take? Tsarukyan versus Alvarez?
Yeah, Omar stole my move there. Alvarez is the dog, and I was going to ride with the dog, and Omar already did it.
Alvarez is the dog?
Yeah. Arman Tsarukyan is minus 230. Joel Alvarez is plus 180. People are high on Tsarukyan, man. They have been for a while. But this is a great fight. First off, it makes me nuts that the UFC can't seem to realize that this should be getting co-main shine over friggin' Wellington Turman. But we've seen this kind of idiocy from them before. It makes no sense. But yeah, Tsarukyan is 17-2, 4-1 in the UFC. His only loss is to Islam Makhachev, which was in his UFC debut. Alvarez is 19-2, also 4-1 in the UFC. His only loss was in his UFC debut to Demiris Magulov, who is like Islam light. He's just been out for a while, so maybe people are kind of forgetting him. But these dudes are legit, and they might both be future contenders. But someone's going to have to hit a bump in the road here. The thing that jumps off the page, as it does in most Joel Alvarez fights, is the size. Alvarez is 6'3" to Tsarukyan's 5'9", and he has a 77-inch reach to Tsarukyan's 72-inch. The man is a giant at lightweight. The problem with that is he struggles to make weight, so we'll see what happens there. Hopefully he does, because if he misses again, he might have to become a welterweight, and then those assets he has don't count for quite as much. So hopefully he can make it. But we will see if that even comes to bear, because he's fighting Tsarukyan, who's an unreal wrestler. And if you're on the mat, that reach advantage doesn't really matter as much, and that's certainly where Arman Tsarukyan is going to look to put this one.
I disagree, actually. I think the reach advantage does matter on the ground, especially when you're talking about catching limbs, because Homeboy is able to get around and able to grab things that normally guys with shorter limbs aren't able to. Could be a short night for Tsarukyan even on the ground.
I mean, that's fair. I shouldn't say it doesn't matter at all, but it's less of a factor than it is in the striking.
Sure.
But yeah, for me, what this comes down to is kind of danger versus control, with Alvarez being the danger and Tsarukyan being the control. And I don't mean that Tsarukyan is boring, because he's not. But I feel like he can't take risks in this fight because Alvarez is so dangerous, and he's going to need to kind of try to ride his wrestling. And if he's successful enough with it and can control Alvarez enough, then he will likely stay safe and likely come out the winner in this fight. But Alvarez is such a sneaky grappler. He's going to be landing like elbows and things against the cage whenever they clinch. I'm sure he'll catch Arman off guard a few times in the striking, just because of what the distance that he can land from being as long as he is. So it's a lot that Arman Tsarukyan has to think about and wade through to win this fight. And like I said, people have been high on Arman Tsarukyan for a long time. That only loss was to Makhachev. It didn't really stop the momentum. He kind of had some time off there where his buzz went away, but like people are waiting to anoint this guy almost. And maybe I'm not realizing how good he is yet, but and maybe this is the fight he shows that, but I'm with Omar. I'm going with the underdog. The size of Alvarez is just scary to me, and plus I'm a sucker for guys who can beat you from anywhere. I'm going to say Alvarez finds something. I'm going to say he lands something out of nowhere and gets like a club and sub guillotine after he stings Tsarukyan and puts him out. So I'll roll with Alvarez.
I think this is going to be a great fight, and I'm going to go with Tsarukyan here. I'm going to go with him by round 2 TKO.
Ooh. Mike, how tall are you?
Round and pound?
How tall am I? I'm 6'1".
This is like if me and Mike fought. This is literally like if me and Mike fought.
Yeah. Ground and pound, Mike? Or standing?
I think he's going to sting him standing and finish him on the ground.
Wow.
Get a pretty, yeah.
Yeah, I'm super hyped for that fight. I really love that fight.
Yeah,
I don't know how it's not called, man. Makes me crazy.
All right, boys. Let us finish with a little bit of trivia.
Aw, yeah.
Here we go. Okay. This time, instead of finding trivia on the internet, I have crafted 2 trivia questions that I hope will be the right amount of challenging for you 2 gentlemen. Right. Okay. And they are based on this coming weekend's main event in the UFC.
Shit.
Question number 1 of 2. Bobby King Green's pro record stands at 29-12-1. That 1 is a split decision. I'm sorry, not a split decision. It's a fucking draw. Fuck me. Okay, it's a fucking draw. Yeah. I meant to say draw. Okay, who was that draw against? Was it against A?
I know it already.
I know it
God
too.
Damn it.
I know it too.
Who was it against?
Lando?
Oh, yeah. God.
Yeah. And then they ran it back, and Green beat him.
Oh, God. Man, I thought of this whole question. I picked 3 other split decisions from his record. Some of them he won split decision. Rashid Magomedov, Josh Thompson, which was a split for Josh. Magomedov was a split for Green, and James Terry was a split for Green, and Lando was a split draw.
Yeah.
God damn it! All right, second question. Here we go. You know what I got to do? I just got to keep reaching back for the old school UFC trivia for you guys. Talk about fucking UFC 9 or like some shit like that. Okay.
Yeah.
The A side of this week's main event, Islam Makhachev, his record stands at 21-1. That 1 defeat came at UFC 192, Cormier versus Gustafsson. Who beat him and how? This is a fill in the blank. Mark already knows.
What is that dumbass? I know who it is. I forget that dumbass's name though. He's the guy that got head kicked by Cerrone and got straight up laid out.
Yes,
right,
he
Mark,
is.
Who is it?
Adriano Martins by knockout.
Damn it.
I always forget that guy's name, but I know exactly who he is.
It's a random dude to have beaten Islam Makhachev. I mean, really.
It is. And I put in my note here that Islam was actually Martin's last win in the UFC and last win overall. After that, he lost his next 2 in the UFC and got cut. And then he lost 2 or 3 other fights. His last fight was in 2019. He hasn't fought since 2019. But the last bit of news from him as a pro fighter was that he was under contract with a promotion out of Brazil called Tauda MMA.
Oh boy.
Which, if you folks who are listening or watching don't know, I was Tauda's ring announcer for when they came to the U.S., and I did 2 shows with them, and they have since kind of, I don't know, gone away because of COVID or something like that. So in a weird way, that was kind of cool for me to find out through my little research for this question, is that I am in a weird way connected to Islam Makhachev by like 2 degrees of separation. 2.5 degrees of separation or something. So that's kind of cool.
You're connected to Habib by 3 degrees.
There you go. Exactly.
And Conor by 4.
There you go.
And Floyd Mayweather by 5. We could go all day.
Oh, damn.
Cool, man. Well, hey, boys, to wrap up, let me just plug my show coming up this weekend. Folks who are in New York this Friday night, I will be in the ring on the mic for Warriors Cup, Muay Thai, under the promotion of 3 Pillar Promotions. It's going to be a great card. We have a lot of exciting fights. If you don't know, check it out. It's going to be live streaming on Boxing TV. That's BXNG TV. And if you're in New York, get tickets. Go to my Instagram bio, link in my bio, to get some tickets. It will be happening in Queens at the Melrose Ballroom in Queens. It's going to be a great show. I'm going to be there in style. I'm partnering once again with Ascot's father. He's going to be styling me with a handmade silk ascot. It's going to look fresh.
Wow.
So it's going to be great. It's going to be a great night. Dope. Warriors Cup. Check them out.
For those of you who've also never seen some of these smaller local promotions and stuff like that, the crowds are unlike anything you've ever heard.
Yes.
And the fights themselves, while they may not have the most elite technique, are fucking scraps. They are all scraps. They don't do boring fights at these types of events.
The one that I went to in Yonkers greatly exceeded my expectations.
Yeah.
Of the talent level. I thought it was going to be lower, and it was solid.
Yeah, man. The New York and the Northeast has a huge Muay Thai community and a bunch of gyms, a lot of different gyms that are all doing amazing work in their communities and fostering a lot of talent. And at these different promotions, at these different events, they all compete with each other, and it's a lot of fun, and everybody takes it real serious, and it's a great time. So,
yeah, my gym calls New York Seminar Central because that's where all the dudes hold seminars is in New York.
Yeah. Yeah, man. All right, boys. Any parting shots?
Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for listening. Please hit that sub button. Remember, can't please them all.
Right.
Yeah. And pray for me. I'm going to start running again. God damn it.
Go. All right, folks. Enjoy the fights, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.